66 million years ago, something hit Earth so hard that it ended the reign of the dinosaurs in less than 24 hours. And the worst part, they had no idea what was coming. Right now, as you're watching this, there's a rock floating somewhere in space that could do the same thing to us. But back then, on that normal Tuesday morning in the late Cretaceous period, the dinosaurs were just going about their day. Some were hunting, others were eating plants. Babies were hatching from eggs, and then in one single moment, everything changed forever. This is the story of what actually happened during those final hours. And trust me, it's way worse than you think. Here's what most people get wrong about the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. They think it was a slow process. Like the rock hit, things got bad over time, and eventually the dinosaurs died out. But that's not what happened at all. The latest research shows us something completely different, something absolutely terrifying. The asteroid that hit Earth that day was about 6 miles wide. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the distance from your house to the nearest town. Now imagine that entire distance as a solid rock, traveling at 40,000 miles per hour. That's 50 times faster than a bullet, and it was headed straight for what we now call the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The dinosaurs had ruled Earth for over 160 million years at this point. Think about that number. Humans have only been around for about 300,000 years. We've only had cities for 10,000 years. The dinosaurs had entire civilizations of species rise and fall in the time they walked this planet. They survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, climate shifts, and everything else Earth threw at them. They were the ultimate survivors. The planet belonged to them, but they couldn't survive what was about to happen. Let's walk through that day minute by minute, because when you understand the timeline, you realize just how fast everything fell apart. At the impact site, there were probably hundreds of dinosaurs going about their normal routines. Maybe a herd of triceratops drinking from a river. Some small raptors hunting in packs, flying pterosaurs soaring overhead. The ocean nearby was full of massive marine reptiles. Everything was normal, the sun was shining. It was probably warm because the Cretaceous period was generally hotter than Earth is today. And then the asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere. Now here's something wild. The dinosaurs wouldn't have seen it coming. The asteroid was moving so fast that it crossed from space to ground in less than 2 seconds. There was no warning, no time to react. One moment everything was fine, and the next moment, impact. When that rock hit the ground, it released more energy than 1 billion nuclear bombs going off at the same time. The explosion was so powerful that it instantly vaporized the asteroid itself, along with thousands of feet of Earth's crust. A crater 15 miles deep and over 100 miles wide formed in seconds, but the crater was just the beginning. The impact sent a shockwave through the Earth's crust that registered at magnitude 11 on the Richter scale. For reference, the strongest earthquake ever recorded by humans was magnitude 9.5. This was hundreds of times more powerful. The ground rippled like water. Solid rock moved in waves. Trees were ripped from the ground and thrown miles away. Mountains crumbled. Any dinosaur within 1,000 miles of the impact was killed instantly. Not from the explosion itself, but from what came next. The shockwave pushed the atmosphere away from the impact site, creating a vacuum. Then the air rushed back in at supersonic speeds, creating winds that moved faster than sound. These winds carried debris, rocks, and burning materials. Imagine a hurricane made of fire and stone moving at the speed of a jet plane, but it gets worse. The impact threw trillions of tons of rock and dirt into the atmosphere. Some of this material went straight up into space. We're talking about boulders the size of buildings being launched beyond Earth's gravity. But what goes up must come down, and when it came down everywhere. Within minutes, the sky turned dark, not because of clouds, but because billions of pieces of rock were now falling back to Earth all across the planet. These rocks had been superheated by the impact and by re-entering the atmosphere. They were literally glowing red hot as they fell. And there were so many of them that they covered the entire sky. This is where things become truly horrific for the dinosaurs. As these burning rocks fell through the atmosphere, they heated up the air itself. The temperature across the entire planet started rising rapidly. In some places, the air got hot enough to ignite plants spontaneously. Forests that were thousands of miles away from the impact just burst into flames on their own. The dinosaurs couldn't hide from this. There was nowhere to go. Scientists have calculated that within the first hour after impact, roughly 75% of the sky worldwide was glowing with these burning rocks. The heat was so intense that it was like being inside an oven set to broil. Imagine you're a Tyrannosaurus Rex standing in what is now Montana. You feel the ground shake. You see the sky turn orange and red. The air becomes so hot that it burns your lungs when you breathe. Plants around you start smoking and then catch fire. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't outrun it. You can't hide from it. It's everywhere. Many dinosaurs died within the first few hours just from the heat. Their bodies literally cooked. The smaller ones went first because they couldn't regulate their body temperature as well. Baby dinosaurs, still in their nests, were baked alive. Flying pterosaurs fell from the sky as the hot air made it impossible to fly. Their wings caught fire mid-flight. Meanwhile, back at the impact site, something else was happening. The asteroid had hit in shallow ocean water. The impact instantly vaporized billions of tons of seawater and sent it into the atmosphere as steam. But it also created something else, mega tsunamis. Walls of water over a mile high spread out from the impact site in all directions. These waves moved across the ocean at the speed of a commercial airplane. When they hit land, they traveled hundreds of miles inland, drowning everything in their path. Coastal dinosaurs were swept away and buried under mud and debris. Entire ecosystems were scraped off the face of the earth in minutes. The tsunami circled the globe multiple times. Places as far away as what we now call New Zealand were hit by massive waves. The ocean itself was thrown into chaos. Marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, which had survived perfectly well for millions of years, were killed by the turbulent waters, the change in temperature, and the toxic chemicals released into the ocean by the impact. By the end of the first day, most of the large dinosaurs were either dead or dying. The heat had killed many, the tsunamis had killed more. The earthquakes and shockwaves had buried others under landslides. But some survived that first day, and for them, things were about to get even worse. The second phase of the extinction began when the sun disappeared. All that rock and dust that had been thrown into the atmosphere, it didn't come back down right away. The finer particles stayed up there, suspended in the air, forming a thick cloud that wrapped around the entire planet. This cloud was so dense that it blocked out the sun completely. The world went dark, and it stayed dark for months. Think about what that means. No sunlight means no plants growing. The herbivore dinosaurs, the ones that survived the initial impact, now had nothing to eat. The plants they depended on died within weeks. Dead plants mean starving herbivores. And starving herbivores mean starving carnivores. The entire food chain collapsed. Temperature dropped rapidly. The world went from an oven to a freezer. The average global temperature fell by as much as 50 degrees Fahrenheit in some regions. Dinosaurs, many of which were adapted to warm climates, couldn't handle this sudden freeze. They died of cold, starvation, or both. The ones that tried to find food found only death. Carcasses rotted everywhere, spreading disease. The air was toxic from the fires and the chemicals released by the vaporized rock. Acid rain fell from the sky, poisoning water sources. Rivers and lakes became UNDRINKABLE ... in the oceans. Things were just as bad. With no sunlight, the microscopic plants that form the base of the ocean food chain died. This started a cascade of death that moved up through every level of ocean life. The great marine reptiles starved. So did the ammonites, the belemnites, and countless species of fish and invertebrates. Some dinosaurs held on longer than others. The smaller ones, the ones that could burrow or hide, survived for weeks or even months. But they were living in a dead world. Everywhere they looked was darkness, cold, and decay. Food was gone, water was poisoned. The air was hard to breathe. One by one, they died. The last dinosaurs probably lived for about 6 months after the impact. But by then, they were just walking corpses. There was no recovery possible. The world they knew was gone. The warm forests were burned. The lush valleys were frozen wastelands. The herds they traveled with were scattered bones. Within a year of the asteroid impact, every non-avian dinosaur on Earth was dead. 160 million years of evolution wiped out in roughly 365 days. The Tyrannosaurus rex, the Triceratops, the long-necked sauropods, the armored ankylosaurs, all of them gone. But here's what's really haunting about this story. Some of them knew. In those final months, the survivors would have seen the world dying around them. They would have searched for food that no longer existed. They would have looked for warmth that wasn't there. They would have called out for others of their kind and heard only silence in response. The night the dinosaurs died wasn't just one night. It was hundreds of nights, stretched across months of suffering in a dark, frozen world. So what actually killed the dinosaurs? Was it the impact itself? The fires, the tsunamis, the cold? The starvation? The answer is all of it. The asteroid didn't kill them with one blow. It destroyed their world so completely and so quickly that there was no possible way for them to adapt. Evolution needs time. The dinosaurs didn't have time. They had hours, then days, then months of steadily worsening conditions that killed them in waves. The animals that did survive were the ones that could hide underground, like early mammals, or the ones that could eat anything, including dead things and seeds, or the ones that were already small and used to harsh conditions. Birds survived because they could fly away from immediate danger and they weren't picky eaters. Crocodiles survived because they could go months without food and live in water. Turtles survived because they could burrow and hibernate, but the dinosaurs? They were too big, too specialized, too dependent on the ecosystems that were destroyed. They needed too much food, too much space, too much stability. And all of that was taken away in less than a day. To date, we can still see evidence of that terrible day. There's a layer of rock found all over the world that dates to exactly 66 million years ago. It's called the KT boundary. This layer contains high levels of iridium, a metal that's rare on Earth but common in asteroids. It also contains soot from the global fires, shocked quartz from the impact, and tiny glass spheres created when rock was vaporized and then cooled. When you hold a piece of rock from this layer, you're literally holding a piece of the day the dinosaurs died. The crater is still there too. It's called Chicxulub, named after the town near where it was discovered. Most of it is buried under the Yucatan Peninsula and the Gulf of Mexico, but scientists have mapped it using special sensors. It's one of the largest impact craters on Earth. You can visit the region if you want. Stand on the ground where the asteroid hit. It's strange to think that spot, now a peaceful coastal area with birds and tourists, was once ground zero for the worst mass extinction event in millions of years. The dinosaurs ruled Earth for longer than any other large land animals before or since. They survived everything nature threw at them. They evolved into thousands of different species, filled every possible ecological niche, and dominated every continent. They seemed unstoppable, but they weren't ready for a rock from space. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night: this could happen again. There are thousands of asteroids out there, and we're only tracking a fraction of them. Most of the dangerous ones are too small or too dark to see easily. They could show up with very little warning, just like they did 66 million years ago. The difference is, we have technology, we have telescopes watching the sky. We have plans for how to deflect an asteroid if we see one coming. We have time to prepare, something the dinosaurs never had. But we also have a lot more to lose. The dinosaurs didn't have cities, civilizations, billions of individual lives interconnected by technology and infrastructure. We do, and impact today would be even more catastrophic in terms of human suffering, even if it wasn't as deadly to all life on Earth. The dinosaurs teach us an important lesson. It doesn't matter how successful you are, how well adapted, how long you've survived. The universe doesn't care. Sometimes bad luck is all it takes. That day, 66 million years ago, started like any other day. The sun rose, the dinosaurs woke up. They had no idea it would be their last day on Earth. By the time the sun rose again, most of them were already dead. By the time it rose 100 more times, they were all gone. The night the dinosaurs died wasn't just one night. It was the night that changed Earth forever. If you want to see what replaced the dinosaurs after they were gone, stay tuned for the next video.